A cargo ship moves slowly through a narrow stretch of water. On board, nothing looks unusual. Containers, fertilizer, grain. But what if this single route decides whether millions of people eat? What if the price of bread in Nairobi or wheat in Khartoum is being shaped thousands of miles away by gas fields, shipping lanes, and war? This is not just a story about food. It is a story about power, about how the global food system was rebuilt, and how it became dependent on something far more fragile than we ever imagined. In the mid-20th century, the world faced a terrifying question. How do you feed a rapidly growing population? The answer came in what we now call the Green Revolution. New crop varieties, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, irrigation at scale. And the results were dramatic. India, for example, more than doubled its wheat production in just a few years. Famine, for a time, seemed pushed back. But this transformation came with a hidden condition. These new crops could not grow on their own. They needed constant chemical support. Unlike traditional farming, which relied on compost and manure, this new system depended on industrial fertilizers, especially nitrogen. And nitrogen fertilizers are not just made in factories. They are made from natural gas. Quietly, almost invisibly, food became tied to fossil fuels. Not just tractors or transport, but the very nutrients in the soil. And that connection would reshape everything. To understand today's food system, we need to follow one key ingredient: ammonia. It is the foundation of nitrogen fertilizers. About 70% of global ammonia goes into food production. And here is the critical part. Ammonia is produced using natural gas, which means no gas, no fertilizer. No fertilizer, lower yields. Lower yields, less food. Over time, this created a global system where agriculture depends on energy markets. But the system did not stop there. It expanded. Countries began specializing. Some produced raw materials. Others processed fertilizers. Others grew food, and others moved it across oceans. This is not just agriculture anymore. It is a global industrial network. And at the center of this network, a new player emerged. For decades, countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE were known mainly for oil. But that image is outdated. Today, the Gulf sits at the heart of modern agriculture. Not by growing food, but by controlling the inputs that make food possible. Cheap natural gas allowed these countries to dominate fertilizer production. Saudi Arabia became one of the world's largest exporters of ammonia and urea. Oman and Qatar followed. Together, they supply critical inputs to regions like South Asia and North Africa. For example, a large share of India's ammonia imports comes from the Gulf. Morocco depends on Gulf sulfur to produce phosphate fertilizers. So even if food is grown locally, its production depends on distant energy systems. And the Gulf did not stop at production. It moved into control. State-backed companies began investing across borders, owning fertilizer plants, controlling supply chains, linking energy directly to agriculture. This is what economists call vertical integration. But in simple terms, the same system now controls fuel, fertilizer, and food inputs. Food does not just grow. It moves across oceans, through ports, into warehouses, and onto trucks. And here, the Gulf holds another kind of power: logistics. Dubai's Jebel Ali port is one of the busiest hubs in the world. It connects over 150 ports globally. It stores, processes, and redistributes food. Grain from one continent can pass through Dubai before reaching Africa. The UAE has become a major re-export hub, shipping wheat, rice, and staples to countries like Somalia, Ghana, Mozambique, Zimbabwe. So when you see food in a market, it may have crossed multiple borders and passed through systems controlled by a few key players. Even humanitarian aid depends on these routes. In crises, food shipments are coordinated through these same hubs. This creates efficiency, but also risk, because if one node fails, the entire chain is affected. If you're finding this deep dive into the political economy of land and pastoralism valuable, take a moment right now to verify that subscribe button is clicked and notifications are on. We're tracking the political economy of food and agriculture, from rangelands to global value chains, so you don't miss the next investigation. Now imagine this system under stress. A war breaks out. Energy prices rise. Shipping routes become unsafe. This is not hypothetical. It is happening. As conflict disrupts the Gulf region, energy prices surge. And because fertilizer depends on energy, fertilizer prices follow. In 1 month, energy prices rose over 40%. Fertilizer prices jumped more than 25%. Food prices began to climb. This is the chain reaction, and it moves fast. But the impact is not equal. Wealthier countries can absorb shocks. They subsidize farmers. They stabilize prices. But many countries cannot. In Tanzania, farmers face rising input costs. In Somalia, drought meets higher food prices. In Sri Lanka, economic instability deepens. In Sudan, the situation is devastating. After years of conflict, millions face hunger. Aid is delayed. Supply routes are longer and more expensive. Ships avoid dangerous waters. Journeys take weeks longer. Costs rise. And for many, food becomes unreachable. The World Food Program estimates tens of millions more people could face acute hunger, most of them in Africa. This is not just a supply problem, it is a system problem. There is another layer: debt. Many countries at the global south are already struggling with high debt. When food and energy prices rise, import costs increase, currencies weaken, interest payments grow. Governments face impossible choices. They either spend on food subsidies or repay debt. Today, billions of people live in countries that spend more on debt than on health or education. This makes food crises harder to manage, because even when solutions exist, they are unaffordable. The current system is efficient, but fragile. It produces large amounts of food, but depends on stable energy, stable trade routes, and stable geopolitics. Remove one piece, and the system shakes. There are alternatives. More sustainable farming such as crop rotation, organic inputs, and better soil management. These reduce dependence on fossil fuels, but they require time, investment, and political will. And right now, the system is still locked into its current path. Food is often seen as something local, grown on farms, sold in markets, but in reality, it is global, industrial, and deeply political. The bread you eat may depend on gas extracted thousands of miles away, processed into fertilizer, shipped through strategic ports, and priced in global markets. This system has fed billions, but it has also created new vulnerabilities. And as we are seeing now, those vulnerabilities are no longer hidden. They are shaping the future of hunger. Here are some key takeaways. 1. Modern agriculture depends heavily on fossil fuels, especially for fertilizer production. 2. The Gulf region has become central to global food systems through energy, chemicals, and logistics. 3. Food supply chains are highly interconnected, making them efficient but fragile. 4. Geopolitical conflicts can quickly translate into food crises. 5. The most severe impacts are felt in vulnerable, import-dependent countries. 6. Long-term solutions require reducing dependence on fossil fuel-based agriculture. What stood out to you in this analysis? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read them and often build on viewer questions in future episodes. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, share, and stay curious about the systems that feed the world and the people who sustain them.